Hi BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I thought I would do a video on books that I need to find the perfect time to read them. Or they're books that I'm embarrassed to say I have not finished, and I need to, and they take me a lot longer than I care to admit. Okay, so some of these books are ones that, yes, their writing is a bit more challenging to read, and, it's still a struggle for me to get into. And there's other ones that they're not that hard to read. They have a lot easier, they're very ease of reading to them, but they're still very long because these particular authors like to write really long books. And I'm still not used to I am not one of those people who can get a long book done within like a month or a year or a few months. Okay. First, let's talk about one that's part of the Song of Ice and Fire series. So, he's got that spin-off show. George R. R. Martin has that spin-off show coming out, House of the Dragon. Well, that show is an adaptation of this, I believe. I'm not 100% sure of that, but this was his latest series in that world. Fire and Blood, House of the Dragons, or I don't know what the actual name of the whole series is, but this is like the history of the Targaryens who first ruled Westeros. So it is kind of like reading a textbook, but in a fun way. The kind of history that we actually might enjoy. Instead of the forced histories we're supposed to learn about. Although that history we'll learn about is important. But, unfortunately people in school, they get bored really easily. And so I did start this when I bought this via BJ's. That's like Costco, giant warehouse store, and there is a little table of books. Although the one where I got this from, it doesn't have as many books there. There was like last time I went there was only like maybe one book I was mildly tempted to buy, but then at the time I was like, oh, I don't need to buy anything right now. I can live without buying that book. But so what's really cool about this one is it has a lot of great illustrations. I don't know if the paperback has all these illustrations in it, but yeah, it has a lot of great illustrations. And I did start it, but it's long. It's like how many pages? I don't know why books have all those extra pages. And they have a family tree, which is really cool. But not counting this, it's actually not that long. It's only it's 706 pages. But 500 plus pages is still a big commitment for me, and I still struggle getting through this. Although I've gotten better, like I got through Game of Thrones, the first Game of Thrones. I reread the first Game of Thrones book, but then that's also a reread, so that might have helped too. But yeah, I am excited to read this. It's just a long book, and it's also a hardback copy. And hardback copies, especially the bigger, chunkier ones, they're heavy. They're a lot as far as physically reading them. So, it's a lot. It requires a lot of my attention. I mean, not that it's that hard to read or understand. It's just, there are books that I have done here that are a lot harder to read and understand. Which, speaking of, let me go and talk about one of those books. So that's Fire and Blood, and that's James Joyce's new Ulysses. First, I love the cover of this, the green First I thought it was the cover was the same green as the spine and the back, but it's a different green, the actual front of the book. And this one, his writing, the way he writes it is he does different writing styles in each section of the book. And this is one of those ones where it's a bit confusing and it's a hard read, but I want to read it because I feel like there's a lot that this book could offer me. And I imagine it's a really interesting premise. I am compelled to read it. It's just, like I said, it's a different kind of read for me. And it requires a lot of focus on my part. So, like I said, I have, my other title for this video is books that I need to find the perfect time to read them. When I'm not as distracted, when I can focus and really, get lost in a story. It is a retelling of the Odyssey. Not as comical as Brother, Where Art Thou? But, it could be comical, I don't know. But it's an Irish retelling. It takes place in Ireland, I believe. And our main character is it, I don't think it's Stephen, it might be Stephen Dedalus. And it's unabridged. I'm another one of those, people that wants to read classics that are the unabridged version of classics. I do not like abridged versions of classics. I understand why people recommend them, but if I'm going to read it for the first time, I want to read an unabridged version no matter how long it is. That's what I did with, The Count of Monte Cristo. Although I eventually decided, what's going to help me is listening to an audiobook. So that's why I did listen to audiobook. I think it was the first audiobook when I decided to start using my e-reader, my iReader on my phone. That came with my iPhone. Which, I could do that for this one if I could find it, but yeah, so I want to try this book again, but like I said, I feel like I need a lot of focus. I couldn't read this, when Terry's visiting, for instance. She's going to be coming in the first week of June, so I couldn't read this when she's here because she's visiting, so I want to spend time with my friend, so it's I need something that I won't, that if I fall asleep, I'm going to make it hard for me to concentrate, that's the other thing. I like to read in bed, so this is non-reading in bed kind of book for me. So yeah, this is definitely, I need to find the perfect moment to pick this up and really read a good chunk of this. So, this is the other one. Now, this next one I'm going to talk about is one that is not that hard to read. Now, I've gotten a good way into this book. And that's The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. So, if you know Brandon, he's not that hard of a read. It's again, a long book. And every time, people like Emily Fox or Reagan from Peruse Projects talk about this book, and they have already progressed in the series. Or you can make videos someone like Jay from Caption Words or Daniel Green can make videos where they talk about this stuff. And I haven't finished the first book. It just drives me crazy because I feel so guilty. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about it because I know I have to read this one. And even if they're not directly talking to me, it's and it's I knew that they were going to, talk about it. Of course, they would be people that would talk about it. So it just drives me crazy because I feel guilty. But, yeah, so I need to pick this up again soon. Along with, like I said, I'm reading Clash of Kings right now, but I also got, read Dragon Reborn. The teaser trailer just came out, which, they're still filming, so I will probably be okay if I don't read it, this month, Dragon Reborn this month, but I need to read it soon. But yeah, I gotta pick up this one as well, so. But it's not hard to read, it's just, like I said, it's a big commitment. So, since Terry's coming, I feel like I need to pick one book to focus on, one or maybe two books, I don't know, that won't, because I know I'm not going to get any reading done during that time that she's here, or I'm going to barely get any reading done, so I might not have a lot of books to show you guys in my wrap up for May and June, but I'm gonna try. So there's that one. And then let me go ahead and show you these two. Okay, so first is the Stephen King book that I have not ever read, I have not read, and that is The Stand. And this is one of those books that people probably are still hesitant to read right now because it's about a pandemic happening, half the population being killed off in this book, because of a virus or something. I think it's a virus. So it's kind of like Station 11, which I attempted to read this while reading Station 11 at the same time, but Station 11 is a shorter book. So, and it's not that hard because, like I said, Stephen King is not like Brandon Sanderson. His writing style is not that hard to understand. It's not that deep, but it's just he also writes really long books. And this was another one of the situations where originally I had the mass market version, and it's the same thing with the Brandon Sanderson. I had the mass market version, and then I traded up. So I started rereading it, and I don't even remember where I left off, because I think I already switched to this book, this edition. And I do know in this case this one is becoming a series, or it already came out. I do not know, but I would have to look that up. But yeah, I remember so I want to pick up this one, and like I said, whenever I do videos like where I show you a bunch of my books, then all of a sudden I'm like, I want to read that one right now, the books I'm showing you guys. So like right now I'm thinking about this book and being like, oh, actually I should go ahead and read this one. But so The Stand. And the other one that I feel like, and actually I think it's a great summer read because it takes place during the summer. First of all, the summer of 1958, and then summer of 1985. And that is It by Stephen King. And this was recently adapted again because it's been a mini-series they made in the 90s. And then it was adapted again more recently. And I've read it before. It just took me years to read, just like Gone with the Wind, just like Count of Monte Cristo. And this is it's a great book. It's just a long one. It might be longer than The Stand. I do not know. And I love this edition. I did think about getting the movie tie-in edition, because I'm one of the few people who likes some of the movie tie-in editions, or TV show tie-in editions. Although that one was, like, all you saw was little Georgie in his slicker and holding the red balloon, and the clown is looming over. Actually, no, I don't think the clown's even in there. But, it's actually, I feel like it's one of the ones that, people might not mind as much. Like, I know a lot of people have trouble with people on the covers, but you can't even see Georgie's face. But I do like this edition. I like the white cover. I really like white covers. That's why I want to get the Brandon Sanderson UK covers, because they're white with very limited coloring. They don't have they don't have a lot of color in them, but they have a little bit of blue, and they have a lot of blue, and they have some blue in them and stuff like that. So I like I like those covers. The more very simple covers. And so yeah, it's like I said, but at the same time I feel like I've already read this book, so I feel like I should read Stephen King's books that I have not read yet. I should finish some of those first. And I did, I've read a lot of Skeleton Crew, which is a collection of short stories and novellas anyway, so it's not, so I've read some of them already. And then there's a couple other books here that I feel like I need to pick up and start reading. And actually, now I think about it, let me go ahead and show you. Well, I have you here. Let me go ahead and show you. I'm trying to. Two other. If I can. See, I'm trying to pick them up without having to without knocking down anything, but, two other books that I should probably show you here are, that I recently not bought not that long ago, is this one, the history of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. It's nonfiction for one, and it's a chunker. I mean, it's not like the size of it, but still chunker. So I'm nervous about it, but I bought it, and I heard from Steve Donahue that it's great. But yeah, I'm nervous about this one. So this is kind of another one that I'm nervous about. This is one of the ones on here that I'm very nervous about, and I haven't even started yet. This little sticky is not mine, actually. This was in the book when I got it. And then the other one is one that I also got from BJ's, which is the same place I got Fire and Blood from. And that is an encyclopedia of Tolkien, so it's also nonfiction. And I almost want to save some of my nonfiction for November, for nonfiction November. But this is all about, this is what inspired Tolkien in Lord of the Rings, like the mythology that inspired him. And I did tell Terry about this one. I wanted it for myself. I bought it for myself. But I don't even know if they have a BJ's in Florida. But like I said, she could always order it online or something, like if she looks for it online. Or it might be at Books A Million, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, this is another one I'm nervous about reading. So I figure I'll show you those two as well. I'll include those in this pile. But yes, I figure now would be a good time to read something like this because it takes place during the summer. But like I said, look at this chunker. I don't know which one's longer, if the stand is longer or this is longer. But yeah. So there's those. And the other thing is, do I read two Stephen King books at the same time? And actually, I should have grabbed Dickens as well, because some of Dickens's work. Like, I want to reread Bleak House, but I'm nervous about that. So, even though I've already read it, I'm just worried. But I have been trying this new thing before I pick up books like that, where I watch certain people's videos beforehand on the book. If I don't have the adaptation, if it's been adapted and I don't have access to the adaptation, then I will I like to watch these videos where people, like Tristan in the Classics is great for classics. Talking about classics that you are nervous about reading and you don't know if you'll be able to understand it or get into it. Not that Dickens' writing is that hard, but it can be, his writing style can be a bit confusing. I mean, it's not like Ulysses, but it still kind of has this feel to it where he takes a lot to say one thing, and he takes a while to get to the point. Like, it's a writing style that I'm still kind of getting comfortable with, but sometimes it can be like, especially if I'm tired, if my mind is tired and I'm about ready to fall asleep, certain writing styles I just can't read when I'm trying to fall asleep. Sorry, we have a thunderstorm going on, although they did say a tornado warning as well, but they said this was going on, I think, until 3, so, and actually it should be slowing down soon, I hope. But I was actually nervous, because it did warn you to get in a basement or the lowest part of your house. And my dad's not here, he went golfing earlier today, so. But, okay. So, I probably should have shown my latest Dickens that I'm currently reading, because that one takes more time. Although once I get into the rhythm of it, then I could potentially be good. And the same with a lot of these books that are a little easier, that aren't like, their writing isn't like Ulysses. it just takes me time to like sit down and pick it up and just read it and only read that book, or maybe not only read that book, but just make where it's not that hard to read, but I need to read a good chunk of it. Okay, the next two books I want to show you. So these are kind of like Ulysses, where the writing style is a little different and I'm not used to it. And that is The Recognitions by William Gaddis. So again, another one that I started. And it's also one of these books where, like, because it takes me so much time to read, and sometimes I get confused, I end up feeling, like, worried that I come off as stupid. And I know I'm not. It's just, it requires a lot of my attention, a lot of my focus, and needing to, and, like, I know what's going on. It's basically this guy, Wyatt, and he was raised in a very strict, I think he's Catholic family, I think. And, as an adult, he's trying to be a painter, I think. But he can only do copies of other people's work. And he ends up getting paid for it, even though at first he didn't want to do that. He wanted to create something original. And then he realizes, I think, that originality doesn't exist anymore. Something like that. So, very philosophical kind of read. And like, so the writing, like, it doesn't use quotation marks. And the writing is just a little different than what I'm used to. And it's again a chunky book. Although it's only, that's the afterword, and I probably wouldn't read the afterword. I don't know if I would read the afterword. It's like 900, almost close to 1,000 pages. But still, that's counting the afterword. It's 945 pages, count as the last page of the afterword is on. So it's just not something. So yeah, it's more just, it's different and it's a challenge. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I'm, that if I take the time to focus, that I could really, yeah, like, not counting the afterword, it's 933 pages. So this is another one. And then the other one right after this one is one that's a stream of consciousness, which is funny because, that's why I walked away from Virginia Woolf, and I wasn't sure if she was my kind of thing, but I'm up for giving her another chance, especially if I want to read this one, which is, I think, also stream of consciousness. And then is Duxbury Newport, which won the Booker, or longlisted for the Booker Prize of 2019. And it is about a mother and how she is very unsatisfied with her life and she wishes for more. And it's something that I don't read a lot about, and I wanted to try it. But again, it's stream of consciousness, so I feel like there's not going to be a lot of page breaks and a good place for me to stop, because life happens, you have stuff to do. It's not a book that I can take on to go to work, and if I'm not, and it's hard to read in the car, because I just cannot get comfortable in the car, especially for long car rides, and I can't bring it with me on trips and stuff when we go to my grandma's, or my sister's, because there's too many distractions in both places. But, and again, this is another one of those ones where I just need to find the right time to read it and focus on reading it, like a good chunk of it. And also, I don't know why, I like the blue and the orange look to the cover. Oh yeah, so that's what that is. That's a duck. That's a duck dipping his head in the water, and his butt is sticking out. I did not realize what was that picture of. I thought this was the head and the mouth for some reason. But yeah, so this is one of those ones I need to find the perfect time to focus on it and pick it up. And I love the idea of reading about a mother and how she's not 100% satisfied with her life. I think that's an interesting topic to read about. Now, obviously, I'm not a mother, but I do have moms in my life. My own mom, and then my sister is a mom of 3. So it'll be interesting to see a mom reading a story about a mom that is not happy with, being a mom and wife. But again, I need to find the right time to read it. Of course, it's also one of those stories where, like, I'm thinking about it now, reading it now, but it's like, will this be something I can pick up and focus on? Like I said, I am feeling as I'm filming this video, the tiredness is hitting me again, so. So yeah, that's another one. Like I said, that's like the Recognitions, and like Ulysses, it's a different kind of challenge. It's not just long. It's also, the writing is a bit jarring for me and hard to get into. Okay, and then let's see. I unfortunately have the last 4 books like over far away. So excuse me. I'm back, sorry. That's what I get for putting the books all the way over there. Okay, so the next one is another classic that, and you guys, the one I'm talking about, you know the story of this one also. This was one that I read in the abridged version. At the time, did not realize it, because the book was not that long, and at the time I didn't like it. But then I decided to give it another shot, and I did like the musical. And there's Les Miserables, by Victor Hugo. This is a trunk cover. First, I love this kind of flexi-bound editions with the, the word, the quotes and stuff engraved in it, the names of the characters. And this was actually one that was apparently the person did kind of annotate the book, the last person who owned this copy. And it originally belonged to them and that's coming up July 27th, 2013. I can't figure out what her name is. But yeah, she did annotate a little bit. But it's actually not super hard, but there are sections of the book that can be kind of tedious. And it's a depressing book. If you think about it, I mean, it's called The Misrables. And really the most happy part is probably the most fun part of the story is probably the Thénardiers, when they are people who run an inn, but they're also con artists, so they come up with creative ways to charge people for staying at their inn. It's probably the most fun part about the musical. But it's now I'm a little bit older and more mature, it's a lot more interesting to read. We get a lot more background on certain characters, like the priest that gives Jean Valjean gives him forgiveness. And it's just, and the writing is great. It's just, again, a long book. And like I said, a sad book. But yeah, so it's a lot to read. But this is one I need to pick up soon. oh, not only is the rain stopped, but it's sunny again. So I'm assuming my dad will be home soon. Unless he's not finished with his game. Okay, so the next one is one that is, again, another one of those ones that's not necessarily a hard read, but again, it's a long book. And this was one that originally I DNF'd, but then I decided to give it another shot, especially because the author herself passed away a couple years ago. So I figured, in her honor, I would try to attempt again reading her books. But that is Anne Rice's The Witching Hour. And, this is $18 in Canada. I got this at the roast office, or not the roast office, actually at Black Castle Books, I think. It was either roast office or Black Castle Books, because it's a used copy. But, it's the first in a trilogy. And, again, it's the length. The damn length. But I did start it, and it's one of those, and she's, again, another author that, she really dives deep into the history of the world that she's created. There's a whole section in the book where a character is reading about the history of this particular family, the Mayfair Witches, and which I really like, which I think is really cool, and I like it. I enjoy the reading, but it's a lot. It's a big book. It's a big commitment. But it's only 3 books altogether. Not 3 in this one volume, but 3 books, 2 more books after this one. So, so I need to, again, take the time to commit to it. But like I said, at least unlike Ulysses and Duxbury Newport and the Recognitions, it doesn't require as much concentration or in focus, and it's not that confusing, but it still requires commitment and me really picking it up and only reading this, or maybe not only reading this, but reading a lot of this as well. So there's that one as well. And then the last 2. Okay, so the next one is one that I've heard mixed opinions on. And this is something that a lot of people said the narrative structure can be very confusing. Because it's like a story within a story, or you have 2 characters. You have one of our main characters telling his story, and he's a prisoner telling the story, but then you have another character who's like, actually, this is how it went. Kind of thing, where it's like, so they're telling their version of things, and you don't know which the true version is. So, I do believe that a lot of people have talked about how the structure of the story is a bit jarring, throws people off, and that's why people don't like it. And that is Jen Lyons' Ruin of Kings. This is the first book in a series. And I'm nervous that, I bought it and I'm worried that the writing is going to confuse me. And I'm not going to like it as much. And I'm going to be disappointed in it. But I want to try it and give it another shot. And I want to give it a shot, because I haven't given it really the first shot to begin with. So I want to give it a shot. I just hope that it doesn't, people, not like everybody else, or at least not like a lot of the people, and feel like the writing structure is too much for me. So that's the only reason that I am picking up this book, because I'm nervous about the structure. That I spent the money and bought a book that I'm not going to like, because the structure of the story is confusing. So this is another one that I need to pick up. So finally we're on the last one. Another one that's definitely not that hard to read, but it's a long book. Like I said, almost all these books, or at least half of these books, it's because of the length that I haven't continued with them. But I want to continue with them. And that is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I haven't read her other series, but I do have the first book over there somewhere in my pile of donated books. But I did take it out of the pile of the books I'm going to unhaul and put it. There's a few in there that I'm not 100% sure if I want to get rid of those or not. But, and I've read this before and I did really enjoy it. And I got pretty far into it, so I'm starting over. So I did start over. And again, it just requires, again, if I had a nickel for every time I said this word, commitment, then I'd be very wealthy. I'd be very rich right now. But yeah, again, commitment. It requires a lot of time. And, you know, it's not like the chapters aren't that long. But, like I said, I just need to pick up one of these books, like this one, and just start reading it. But that is... So, but this is so far really fun. I really like this. What I've read of it. And I do want to keep going with it. So I have to think the perfect time to pick it up and read it. So those are all the books. Those are some of the books anyway that, like, either they're very confusing and a whole new, you know, challenge for me to read. And also I should have shown you guys Paradise Lost and Dante's Divine Comedy, because those are also books where it's a challenging writing style that's like can be very confusing and tedious, but I want to try it and get into it. And I really do think with books like that, it's almost like you need to watch other people's videos or look at Spark Notes or something to help you if you have the same problem I have. Where books like that just can be like you want to read them, you're excited, you think they have a lot to offer you, but they can be confusing and the writing style can be hard to follow along sometimes. Or audiobooks, obviously, is another. Listening to those stories in an audiobook probably helps too. But yeah, so yeah, while you have those ones, but you also have books that it's not hard to read. The writing style is very easy, but it can be, they are often longer books. And they have a lot of story in them that's going on. So it's, you know, so yeah, it's not as challenging. The writing style isn't what confuses it, but the fact that there's so much going on in the story that can be confusing. Okay, so if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification below if you want to be notified when I post the latest videos. And I hope you're staying happy, healthy, and safe. And I will talk to y'all later. All right, bye.